Hello, everyone. Today is Friday, June 26th, and as I think about the month of June, I think about weddings and love. Donna and I celebrated our 35th wedding anniversary this year in the month of June, and so I thought I would send you off today with a tribute to love. June, by the way, is one of the most popular months to be married. In fact, 15% of all people who get married in the month of June. That's number one in the South, probably because the weather is always so nice. But anyway, we get our inspiration from the Song of Solomon in chapter 2, verse 16, where the Shulamite woman says to Solomon, "My lover is mine, and I am his." Doesn't that just give you the warm fuzzies today? Well, it reminded me also of some great love songs that I used to listen to as I was growing up. Where Do I Begin? The theme from Love Story. Or how about this one? Speak Softly, Love. Or You're Just Too Good to Be True. Can't Take My Eyes Off of You. Love is a many-splendored thing. Another famous one from another movie and from a setting from Shakespeare, Romeo and Juliet, A Time for Us. And then, of course, Elvis Presley sang this one, But I Can't Help Falling in Love with You. And then Karen Carpenter sang, We've Only Just Begun. Well, those were some of the love songs that came to my mind right away. But I also thought about love stories. Did you know that there are a lot of famous love stories in the Bible? Let me give you just a few of those great love stories. Of course, it started with Adam and Eve. They were the first ones to fall in love. Of course, they didn't have any other choices available to them. They were the first two humans, but still, God planned it that way, and they fell head over heels in love with each other. So the very first couple that got married was Adam and Eve. Then, of course, if you go down through the books of the Bible, you find other couples that were famous couples in love. Isaac and Rebekah. Remember that Isaac's father, Abraham, sent out a servant to find a wife for his son. And the young couple loved each other dearly. And who says arranged marriages can't work? That one did. Also, Jacob and Rachel. Now, do you remember how many years he had to work in order to marry Rachel? It wasn't just 7 years, it was supposed to be. But after the 7 years, he got Leah instead of Rachel, and so he really wanted Rachel, so he worked 7 more years, 14 years total, just for the woman he loved. And then there's a famous love story of Boaz and Ruth, the kinsman redeemer. What a great story that is in the book of Ruth. Legal technicalities bring together a Moabite widow and a wealthy landowner from Bethlehem, and through them they are blessed, and there is a king and their descendants, King David. Well, of course, another famous love story was Elkanah and Hannah. Now, Hannah really wanted to have a child, and she was barren, but she is loved by her husband despite being childless, and God eventually blesses her with the birth of a son, Samuel, who becomes a mighty judge over Israel. What a great love story that was in 1 Samuel. And then, of course, there's King David. We mentioned him earlier, and Michal. That was the daughter of Saul that he really loved, and she really loved him. But their love story was somehow manipulated by King Saul because instead of ridding himself of his nemesis, David, he decided, well, if I can't get rid of him, I'll get him as close to me as possible. And so he made him his son-in-law. But he said, if I'm going to let you marry Michal, you're going to have to do me a favor. I want you to bring me 100 dead Philistines. Bring me proof of 100 dead Philistines. Well, David was excited to marry Michal, so he not only went out and did what he was supposed to, he brought back 200 dead Philistines. So he went over and above for the love that he had. And then one of the stranger love stories was Gomer and Hosea. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't find too many couples naming their daughters Gomer nowadays. Just doesn't make sense to me. But anyway, that was her name. And Hosea was told by God to go and redeem her. Now, she wasn't very nice. She had gone out and lived the life as a prostitute, and yet Hosea came back to her and took her back in because God wanted to use that story to tell the children of Israel that even though they would stray far away from him and love other gods, God would still be true to them. And so what a great love story that was. But that brings us to the greatest love story in the Bible, Christ and the church. Now, Christ really loved the church. In fact, he loved the church so much that he gave up his life for them. And we read different things about this, that it is a divinely accomplished union. What does it mean by divinely accomplished? Well, 1 Thessalonians 1:4 says, "For we know, brothers and sisters, loved by God, that he has chosen you." So it was divinely accomplished. God accomplished it. John 15:16 also tells us, "You did not choose me, but I chose you." That was Jesus speaking there. And then 2 Thessalonians 2:13, "From the beginning, God has chosen you." So we didn't choose God, he chose us. We're going to get to that verse a little bit. So it's a divinely accomplished union. But secondly, also, it is a gracious union. Now, what do we mean by that? Well, it's a gracious union because God is also our friend. John 15:14 tells us, "You are my friends if you do what I command you." So Jesus is promising that if we love him enough to follow him and obey his commandments, he counts us as his friends. So it's a gracious union in that respect. And then also, we can look at ourselves and say, I am his companion. Hebrews 13:5 promises that he will never leave us and he will never forsake us. And so we will be lifelong companions of his. Well, lastly, thirdly, it is an eternal union. It's good to know that this life isn't the end. There is more to come. Romans 8:38 asks the question, who can separate us from the love of God? Well, nothing that's listed there can separate us from the love of God. In fact, no thing can separate us from his love, because God reaches down in his love and he holds on to us. No matter how faithful or unfaithful we find ourselves in our lives, God is faithful to us and he loves us and holds on to us. So we can look at it and know two things. He is mine, and I someday will look forward to his inheritance. This life is not the end. There is more. If we receive him, he gives us the power to become his children, those who believe on his name. And he has promised us that if he leaves, Jesus Christ said, if I leave, I will come again and receive you to myself, that where I am, there you will be also. So it's a love that is founded from God. It is a true love story, and it doesn't have an ending yet. In fact, it will never have an ending because it will be eternal. So I want you to be comforted today knowing that God loves us, and let's love him back in return. Have a great day.